Today was another windy day at McGee Creek, that's for sure. It's been a windy week. But beginning of this week, I was very fortunate to catch my 200th bass in the state of Oklahoma, over 10 pounds since 1990. Actually, I caught that one on Monday, and Thursday of this week, I caught my 201st one that was over 10 pounds. Both of those were here at McGee Creek Reservoir here in southeastern Oklahoma. I've been truly blessed. I started doing this in 1990. And things have changed so much in the fishing industry since 1990. It's hard to believe it's even still fishing. I was telling some people the other day that in 1990 when I started, every hook that you used, you had to sharpen. That's how much things have changed. Now hooks are so sharp, they got warning labels on the package. But been very fortunate, man. I've caught tons of giant bass here in Oklahoma, and I guide at Lake Fork in the summertime, so I've caught a lot of giant bass in my life. But I've got those 201 now in Oklahoma. This all started out as a New Year's resolution with me and my best friend. We're going to learn how to catch giant bass, and I didn't realize at that time it was going to change my life. But over the years, my whole deal has always been trying to learn as much as I could and then pass it on to every person I could. I'm not closed-mouthed about what I do. I don't try to hide. When you see my pictures, you don't see me scrubbing out the backgrounds and stuff. I'm not worried about that. I don't mind people knowing where we catch fish. But one of the things that's really helped me, and it actually started last year when I got with you guys at the bass tank. For years, I've been telling people that I think fish do this, and I think they do that, and everything. And I was basing all that on all the thousands and thousands of hours I'd spent on the water. But when I got my first Garmin Livescope, it was very rewarding for me, and the fact that a lot of the things that I've been preaching for years, the Livescope was showing me it was actually truly happening. That was very rewarding to me, and it made me feel a lot better, even more confident about what I tell people when I'm talking about catching giant bass. For some people I know, they like to just go out and just Livescope and try to catch giant bass, but I'm not really that way. I'm a guide. We fish, but I use my Livescope too. In other words, we don't go out and just Livescope and just try to catch fish. We fish, and then as my clients are fishing, I use my Livescope. And it's not always just for catching a big fish. One of the things that's really helped me with the Garmin Livescope is I fish everything in the springtime, because I'm fishing 7 days a week. I fish everything on a 3-day rotation. In other words, no matter how good I catch fish today in an area, I will not go fish that area again for 3 days. It'll be 3 days later before I'll fish it. Used to, I would go into those areas that I hadn't fished in 3 days and go in there expecting to catch fish. And if the fishing was slow, I would stay in there because I knew those fish just had to be there. They just had to be there. They were there 3 days ago. One of the things that Garmin and the Livescope has really helped me with is I go in there, and if we fish 30 or 45 minutes, instead of staying 3 hours, if I'm not seeing any bait or I'm not seeing any fish moving around, we need to get out of there. And so it saves me a lot of times, and saving that time helps my clients and myself catch a lot more fish, which that's what everybody wants to do. Everybody wants to catch more and bigger fish. That's what it's all about. But it's an amazing tool. It's a tool for me that I use every single day, every day when I'm on the water. I love it. I like to look, and I don't stare at it constantly, but I love seeing the reactions that fish have to lures. It's amazing to me. One of the craziest things I've seen so far with my Livescope was last summer when I was down at Lake Fork. Mike Buka and I are friends, and he makes the bull shad swim baits. And last summer when I was down there, I was throwing 9-inch jointed swim baits, and I would see giant bass come up from behind those. And the first 2 times I saw it happen, I didn't really know what had happened, but I got to see it happening enough last summer. And it's hard to believe, but those swim baits have hooks in them. They're so sharp. If you touch them, they're going to prick you. You're going to probably draw blood, and they're big hooks. And I would see those giant bass come up behind that big swim bait, and that quick, that bait would disappear and reappear. And I thought, did I just see what I thought I saw? Did that lure disappear and then reappear? But I saw it enough last year and you'll never feel it, but I would see giant bass inhale those big swim baits and blow them back out in a blink of an eye, and you'll never feel it. If it wasn't for seeing it on that screen, you would never know what happened. Now, some of those fish, because I'd see them do that, you could turn around and throw right back at them, and after about 2 or 3 casts, it's kind of like a bedding fish. They would finally get angry and would nail the bait. But if you hadn't seen it in the very first time it happened, you would never throw back in that area again. So it really helps me with that. And plus it you know, there are times when, especially it seems like to me, in winter, December, January, and February, for me, that's when a Livescope shines the most, because the big fish seem to get out offshore and they'll suspend in trees and stuff like that. And man, you can go up there with that Livescope and you can see those fish and catch them, and it's a thrill. It's just a thrill. But I've learned too, I tell my clients when we're fishing and when we got a fish coming after their bait, I'll say, don't look at the screen, look up. Because I've learned real quick, most of those guys, if they see the fish and held a bait, they'll instantly set the hook. And you really need to look away, feel the fish, and then set the hook, because it's like topwater fishing. I tell people, when you're topwater fishing, once you start working the bait, don't look at your lure, look away. That way you'll hear the bite, and the time it takes you to turn your head, that's all it takes for you to get a real good hook set, versus if you see the bite, you jerk it away from them a lot. Your reactions, reflexes take over. But you know, it's been a blessing to me to get with the bass tank. It really has. It's helped me so much. I've learned, like I said, I'm a person that loves to learn and then pass it on. And I've learned so much in the last year. I've been with the bass tank for right at a year, and I've learned so much in the last year. It's phenomenal. You know, I also write for Bass Magazine, and it's helped me in my writing too, to be able to go, yes, fish do this at certain times, and know that they really do it, because I see them doing it. It's not speculation anymore, it's actual seeing it, and that really helps. And I feel like any angler, whether you've never fished before or if you're a seasoned pro, it can help you. It'll help you. It'll make you a better angler, and you can get out of it what you want out of it. If you want to be nothing but just a pure guy that just goes out and live scopes and catches big fish, you can do that. Or you can do like me and fish and use your live scope also. But it's a great tool. It's one of the greatest tools I've ever been associated with as far as catching fish, and it's really helped me with my clients. I mean, there's been days when the wind's blowing real hard. Say for instance, this happened just last year. Had two young guys show up. They were in their mid-30s, and they had their grandpa with them. Grandpa used to take them fishing all the time. Grandpa was in his mid-80s and was getting on, and didn't fish a lot anymore, and they wanted to take him fishing to repay him all those times he took him fishing. Well, in turn, they wanted him to get his personal best. And so when they showed up that morning, I said, well, man, I said, what is your personal best? And he said, 5.5 pounds. And they were going to fish with me 2 days. And I told him, I said, well, we're going to see everything we can do to get you a bigger fish than that. That morning we left. First spot I went to, it had been raining overnight, and I've got some spots where when water's coming in, it's like a magnet to the fish. It'll draw the fish in. I pulled up on this point, and I had to turn the boat into the wind on this point. Well, as soon as I turned my live scope on and it came on, I could see fish 50, 60 feet from us chasing shad. I mean, you could see schools of bass chasing schools of shad. And then instantly, those two young boys, they got up there with me, and they started catching fish instantly. Well, their grandpa was stuck 20 feet away, and he wasn't getting any bites. Well, every once in a while, about every 2 or 3 fish, one of those, I would have to get my pliers out and take the hook out of the fish's mouth for those guys, and in turn, my boat would turn sideways a little bit. And 2 different times when my boat would just sideways a little bit, when I'd get back up there, I'd see a big fish about 50 feet out, all by itself. And after I saw that the second time, I adjusted the boat back around. I said, hey, Grandpa, I said, throw right out there. I said, there's a big fish out there. I don't know what it is, but it's out there all by itself. And it wasn't just maybe 2 casts, 3 max. I hear, oh, Lord. That's what I heard in the back of the boat, and I turn and his rod's doubled over. I get back there, help the guy with it. He never fought a big fish like that. We get the fish in, it weighed 9.7. So he really upped his game from, you know, 5.5 pounds to 9 pound, 7 ounce bass. And that right there, that's worth it right there. I mean, to see somebody like that, and that's something that those boys, their grandpa will never forget, and those boys will never ever forget that, being with their grandpa when he caught his biggest bass. And then after they got to talking about it, they go, Grandpa, you got the family record, because one of the boys' dad had the record with a 9.1. Well, he had 9.7, so now he had the family record also. So those are fishing memories. That's stuff that you remember the rest of your life, and Garmin Livescope helped me make that possible. So it's something that's it's a great tool. It's something I use every single day, and I'm just so thankful that you know, that the bass tank helps me out, and a great group of people. And I tell people all the time, if you're going to get a live scope, you need to have the bass tank install it, because again, I know a lot of anglers, and I've heard too many stories about guys buying the Garmin live scope, taking it somewhere, and them not hooking it up right, and then those guys thinking they can't read it, it's their fault. You know, they just can't read it. Well, then they take it somewhere else and they go, no, it's not hooked up right. Well, that's not, it's hard to read it right if it's not working right. So if you're going to get one, You know, get it from the bass tank, you'll be glad you did, because as soon as you take it to the lake, it'll work right the first time, and it'll work every time. You know, I guide in southeastern Oklahoma. I guide at Sardis Lake, McGee Creek Reservoir, and this year I started guiding at Pine Creek Reservoir too. Now Pine Creek doesn't have the giant bass that Sardis and McGee Creek have, but it's got huge numbers of real chunky bass. The lake's really producing a lot of fish right now. And I also guide at Lake Fork in the summertime, in the heat of the summer. Down there I'm known as a crazy okie, because when I show up I'm going to be praying for 100-degree days, because that's what my fishing's all about. The more 100-degree days I get, the bigger and more fish we catch. But if you'd like to book a trip with me, you know, I fish year round. All you got to do is call me. My number's 580-889-6742, or you can text me or message me. I'm on Facebook. You can check me out on Facebook. I'm real easy to find. You know, Chuck Justice. I'll be the one that's holding 2 giant bass on my Facebook page.